I thought you were like, oh no, I haven't finished it. And I'm like, then get out!
No, I finished Skulduggery. I finished it at like 2 a.m.
That's fine. I still got, I've got less than 100 pages left of this for the Mystery Inkathon. And I tell you what, you'll love it, Emma. Foxes all up and down. They're everywhere. She's like stalked by foxes. So it got to the point where like every single time I saw a fox mentioned, I was like, Emma's ruined foxes for me now.
Now you know why I wanted to pick fox.
Right, I'm just going to tell the internet that we are live.
Oh my god, cat. No, ignore me. I'm just having a minute.
Give me a minute.
I'm sleep deprived and I did exercise, so I'm a little bit delusional. It's fine.
I'm having a lifetime of those minutes, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, those minutes seem to follow me one straight after the other. But anyway, I suppose I should say hello and welcome to the first DeaDFamous Readalong Live.
Woo!
Becca, can you please show us the skeleton again? I feel like this is the prime opportunity to do that.
Okay,
Is that
it?
There it is.
Skulduggery's here. He made it.
Skulduggery is in the building.
Well, I did once cosplay as Valkyrie, so I had to get the other half.
Oh, nice. So did you just like roll around with that then and just take it with you?
I wish I could. I'd get some stares at Comic-Con, but I totally would.
Do it.
Yeah, I feel like you should. Next time, just like have on like a little like wheelie chair and just like wheel him around.
Like 6 foot tall and heavy.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, if he's heavy, maybe not. But I was like, if he's 6 foot tall, that's even better. Just imagine just casually browsing some merch, having a lovely time, and then just this 6 foot skeleton just like hits over the top of the next bird.
I put it on a string. I just put it on a string.
Skateboard, tie him to it.
Yeah. Or we've actually got a wheelchair randomly as well. Like have it put as a Bentley and just sort of make a cardboard Bentley and sit him in that.
I love that. No. It can't be the Bentley. It needs to be the canary yellow car.
Yeah, the canary.
It has to be. It has to be the canary yellow car. We'll get to that in a second. First, I would like you to introduce yourselves and then tell me what star rating you gave the first one. So just Skulduggery Pleasant, no additional
It's
names.
only red, so it's the only one I can rate.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I'm not saying you have to like talk about all of them. I'm just saying this one in general. Like, what did you give it? Because I gave it 4 stars, like because I loved it. I thought it was great. So yeah, 4 stars. 4 stars. Ali. I can't work out if Ali's. Oh, wait. Oh, there she is.
She's back.
She's back.
Yeah, I don't know. My internet is just being not a friend at the moment.
Oh no!
But I gave it 4.5 stars.
Oh, okay. Good.
Ooh.
I don't usually do half stars unless I'm like really torn, but I like that. That's fair.
I do half stars a lot, but I also feel like it might have been because I was expecting to not like it, and then I really liked it, so I was like,
you can have an extra half. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. No, that's fantastic. So this is going to be split up into 3 sections. We're going to have a non-spoiler discussion, spoiler discussion, and then a Q&A as well. So that if anyone on the Discord or in the group chat wants to actually like have a specific question, we can do that. But for now, I've even done banners. I've gone so far as to actually make an effort.
Look at this.
I know.
Amazing.
Yeah. So first on the agenda for the non-spoiler discussion is just kind of like the story as a whole. And one thing we need to discuss before anything else is something that I completely forgot about when I read it as a kid, didn't notice it as an adult, and that is the fat phobia in Skulduggery. So
I feel like I don't like. Does this happen early on in the book?
it's kind of throughout. It's on certain characters. It's a classic middle grade thing where when they want you to know that a particular character is awful, they make them fat. So all of the nasty characters are fat, and that's like straight off the bat.
I didn't pick up on it, but I also don't pay attention to detail. I think it's an autism thing. We don't give a shit, right? I know it's middle grade, but like middle grade for adults. So I'm just like, do you know what? I don't notice this. Like, the aunt and uncle at the beginning, like that whole thing, like see when they like come back into it later on, I'm like, who are these people? Oh, those people. Yeah, okay. Like, honest, I don't know how I get through any book. Like I'm gonna get to book 15 and be like, wait, sorry, who's Stephanie?
Oh, you know what? You're going to make these live discussions really interesting because you're just going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Tom's going to be like, Emma is a permanent feature just so she can sit in the corner and be like, wait, that happened?
Wait, what
Sorry,
happened? What? Like,
No,
I quite like this.
Honestly, I don't even need to read the book.
No, just rock up and we'll talk about it and you can just go, oh. But I like the fact that,
Yeah,
like,
honestly, that's what
we've read it before and you guys are new to it.
I literally finished this last night, and if you ask me how it ends, I'm like...
To be fair, did you finish it last night or did you finish it at 4 o'clock this morning? Because that would make sense if you just, like, don't remember how it ends.
It was about 2 a.m.
Okay.
Wait, no. I finished it on the 5th of March, apparently.
How? We were still chatting at 2 o'clock this morning.
My Goodreads must be on American time because it was definitely. It was.
I was going to say it was. It had to be after I went to sleep. So.
It was like 2 a.m. So.
Okay, fair enough. What about you, Ali? Any thoughts or comments on the fat phobia? I thought we'll get the nasty stuff out of the way and then we can just talk about how amazing it was.
I mean, I kind of picked up on it, but again, it's something that I guess I never really thought about because I read a lot of those similar comments when I read middle grades when I was that age. So, but
that's fair enough. I do feel like I was more sensitive to it as an adult than I ever would have been as a kid. Like it's not because it is a middle grade at the end of the day. Like, and I think it's a really easy way of just kind of signaling, don't like this person. They're ugly and fat. But it's such a lazy thing to do.
I think as a kid, like as a child, I was so much more conscious of my size. So I think I'd have noticed it then, whereas now I'm like, I'm fat. I'm going to eat 5 bounties. Like, I don't care. And I also like just don't read into shit that much. I'm pretty sure you told me, like, because you'd started it before me, and I'm sure you mentioned it. I was like, oh, I'm going to keep an eye out for that. And then you're like, so the fat phobia, and I'm like, sorry, the what? What was that?
Yeah, the thing is, it was one of those things where like it came up a lot on the Discord because I think once it had been noticed, because I noticed it in that first chapter where they are discussing like the aunt, the uncle, and the cousins, because that's when it's like really prevalent. And then there's like a couple of other times where they meet other people and they're described as like round or the belt is biting into them and stuff like that. And it's more of like a descriptor, but it's the fact that it's a descriptor on someone you're not supposed to like. So it's a weird coincidence that all of the horrible characters are fat. Like it's just, do you know what I mean? It's
because it was first written 2007, so was that is quite of the era. So it'll be interesting to see if that changes as we're talking 2007 to 2021.
Yeah,
up until book 9, it's still in there.
Right,
it's less, but it's still in there.
Yeah, but there's one coming out this year and there's one coming out next year, and it'll be really interesting to see if, with all of the internet discussions about fat phobia and fat shaming and stuff like that in general, the fact that it is in the public eye, is that enough to make it change in these more recent books? That will be quite interesting to see.
If it's one book each year, you're still talking, 2017 at most, and I feel like a lot of books then, like even then, like had fat phobia. I mean, Dumpling by Julie Murphy, I hated it because of how fat, like I did not think it was body positive, and then Ashley from Ashley Faith and I've had big conversations about it, and she's like, you're so wrong. But I think it is just, it's something that is only really recently started to be discussed and kind of understood more, so it will be, I don't have high hopes because it's a white man, not to be like stereotypical, but like still.
But you're gonna stereotype anyway. All right. No, that's fair enough. Okay, the next thing. Let's talk about something I loved, because I love doing that. The dialogue was on point.
Yes!
Like, how great was that dialogue?
And the sarcasm.
I wish I'd highlighted moments. Just like there's so many bits where like Skulduggery's just like He's just like, oh, you know, like Stephanie will be like, oh, we should do something, and he's like, what should we do? He's like, yeah, let's do that. Like, he's just really blunt. He's like, yeah, he's just so chill.
He is the definition of chaotic neutral.
Oh, he's 100%.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so like this bit. So you shot him. That's right. You threw fire at him. Yes, I did. Mr. Pleasant, you're a skeleton. Yes, but back to the crux of the matter. Like, am I going mad? I hope not. Like, it's just, are you real? Probably. Like, it's just like the back and forth between them, I just thought was so great. And like, there are like literally pages where it's just dialogue. And I love that. I'm so like drawn to dialogue anyway. That I feel like this is really like, the banter's actually good.
This quote, like there's a little section here in page 292 that I remember being like, oh, this kind of sums up the book. And it's just, there's a bit that Skulduggery says that I'm like, it kind of, like, it's just one of those things where, so he's like, cheer up everyone, he said, and he brightens in his voice, since we're all going to die horribly anyway, what's there to be worried about? It's like, and like the main bit was like when Stephanie very much feared she was going ever so slightly insane because she found herself agreeing wholeheartedly with a living skeleton she was now following out of the room. And I'm just like, that is basically the book.
Yeah. It's just her being like, oh, I guess I'm with that guy. Like, it's just... Yeah.
I very much...
Oh, like, go on, Allie, what were you going to say?
I very much could tell, like, from the start of the banter, that author's name here...
Derek Andy.
There you go. That he definitely watched Doctor Who. I was like...
Yeah.
Like, immediately, I'm like, this dynamic is a little familiar.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but, like, I don't know if you saw on the Discord, Becca was literally pointing out all of the really obvious, like, callbacks to that, which we will get to in, like, the spoilery bit. But just the sheer number of times he references direct Doctor Who episodes. Love that.
And then he also does it for loads of other pop culture stuff as well. It's all over, because I was actually talking to him at Yauk, not to name drop, but I was talking to him at Yauk in 2019, and I was actually asking about all of this because he quotes so many other really cool pop culture things, and he was saying that he loves to put stuff like that in because that's the stuff he loved growing up, so he's putting it all in now for his own funsies, and I'm like, I love that. It's like an Easter egg hunt.
I did not know. Someone should have told me that, so I would have forgotten to check for it when I read. You're like, how did I not see this? And I forgot the Discord existed as well. So, you know, that works.
Classic.
Like, but if you want the list of references, I've got them.
Yeah, I want the list on this. But like, can we just point out, look how battered the spine is. I never did
the same. Like,
I was
completely, like, you can see it's bad.
I was like, my original copy.
I was like, I want to enjoy this. I was like, so like I got to the point where like every time I got to like a sort of new section, it wasn't lying flat. I was like, then I was like, I'm having a great time.
I mean, that is the sign of a well-loved book. I remember when I was at uni, I brought, like, we were given like a module thing that would have like all the text in that we would need, and most people came in with it absolutely pristine because they were very proud of theirs. Mine was like bent and like dogged, and there was like a tea stain on the front, and my lecturer was like, I can tell you've actually read this. Like, like, and I think that's the thing with this is like, yeah, I literally scribbled it in pencil. I couldn't quite bring myself to do it in pen, but I am going to go back and like pick scenes that I absolutely loved, because I just thought, like, I've literally put here, that made me laugh. Like, it's just like, it was so good.
What made you laugh though?
Oh, okay, I'll see if I can find it. There's so many bits, but it just so happened to be that one when I opened it up was like, this made me laugh.
Off topic, but Becca's like jangly jewelry ASMR going on over there is really enjoyable.
I was so sorry.
No, every time you move, I'm just like,
People's been able to hear me coming for years because I'm constantly covered in jewelry and chains and all the rest of it, especially through my goth phase. You can hear me a mile off.
Goth phase.
I did. I was 9 and I had a goth face.
Oh my god, I love it.
Yeah, I had the trench coat and everything. And I haven't changed. No. Hence the skeleton.
I was going to say, why would you? Why change something that works so perfectly?
Exactly.
I can't find it now. That's so frustrating.
Oh, I hate that. You're like, I know it somewhere.
See, if I'd done it in pen and highlighter, I'd be able to find it really quickly because it'd be nice and colourful. But it's fine. We'll come back to it. But anyway, yes, I loved that. I just thought that was really, really clever. And again, speaking in broad terms, the magic system / mythology. Thoughts?
Love it.
Wrong person to ask.
Right, Emma doesn't get a say on this. Becca, you go first.
I love the way, I love the way this world works. I genuinely love how it's all sort of weaved in with our world and how it sort of works, and it's that sort of secret thing. And I love all of the different creatures you find out about throughout the series and all the different sort of little drops of stuff the whole way through. I'm the biggest nerd for this, but I do genuinely love it.
We like the enthusiasm. That's great.
Yeah.
What about you, Ellie?
I didn't think I'd like that it's like in the real world, but I think I figured out what it is. I'm okay with it in middle grades, but for some reason I don't like real world fantasy in YA as an adult as much.
Yeah.
But for some reason it's fine in middle grades because I really liked it in this, and I like the Percy Jackson series. But when
there's
you
something
move
quite escapist about like a middle grade that's an urban fantasy, because it's, as a kid you spend so much, maybe I'm just speaking for myself here, you spend so much time like imagining that you could escape into these things, whereas as an adult you're like, okay, well, this, you know, there's part of your brain that goes, well, this probably wouldn't happen, or like you're putting too much of your real life experiences on it, whereas a middle grade there's still all that like wonder, and just it doesn't, like, yeah, of course they're going to do like a Mission Impossible style bank heist, of course they are, because why wouldn't they? Why would that not be the first point of call? Like, stuff
yeah,
like
and
that.
because if they did that in like a YA, I'd be like,
why? I'd want details. I'd want to know, like, okay, what was the plan? What's the escape route?
You know what I really appreciated? This middle grade doesn't have absent parents.
Yes.
They found a way for her to have parents and be like, but this is how we're gonna remove you. So I was like, yes. I was like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Part of me is a bit like, like maybe these are a little bit not paying much attention, but like, I'll give you it. Because like, obviously even Stephanie said at one point, she's like, oh, they must be picking up on it. And I'm like, but they're not questioning it, real, are they?
But I guess like, what I find really interesting about that is that they're always like, she seems to be assuming they're not questioning it because she's grieving someone that she really cared about. And I really liked in the first chapter, it's really well established that Gordon Edgley is a bit of a dick. Like, he doesn't really get on with his family, he doesn't really get on with anyone, but he has kind of taken Stephanie under his wing, and she is the only person he's nice to. So if she is also feeling like an outcast at school, and that one person that she felt understood her, or was at least interesting enough that she didn't have to question everything he said, or like just had utmost respect for him, passes away, you are going to have a period of mourning. And actually, like, her parents' response to that makes complete sense to me. So I really like the fact that her parents are alive. I like how completely absent-minded her dad is. Like there's the scene where they're like on the beach and he's like, oh yeah, I forgot my pants.
I was not expecting that. He just comes out, he's like, oh, I left something. Oh yeah, it was my underwear.
Yeah.
Oh my, my back.
Absent-minded parent. Just ridiculous.
You know what though? That also explains why you wouldn't question why Stephanie was acting different. So
yeah, exactly.
There.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Carolyn's right. Her dad is a precious bean. But it's like, it's when her mum's talking, like, did you know he lost a building one time? Like, couldn't find it.
So like, also like, obviously, no spoilers, but just like at that conversation when he dropped something in about, he's like, oh, you know, we got told these stories and just, you can, like, as a reader, I was like, Stephanie, fucking run, like, you need to take this information. But then as it goes on later, like, I hate this when you're trying to like talk about something, you're like, no spoilers. But like later with the scepter, and she's like, oh, but how's that? And I'm like, what did your dad just fucking tell you? Like,
that's what I really like about this in general. So speaking about it in broad terms, like, I made like speak English. I scribbled under lines of things that I was like, this is evidence right at the beginning that she's going to need at the end. And like going back and then having a look at my notes and being like, oh, I completely missed that, which we will discuss in the spoiler bit. But just like the fact that the things I scribbled, half of them I recognised as setups, and then the payoffs are really satisfying. But the fact there were some things that were set up that I didn't even notice were setups and then were paid off, I was like, oh,
I'm going to tell you right now.
I would hard to not spoil the rest of the series now.
Right, let's move on then. We'll talk about something else and then we'll come back to it. So, Okay, I want to start with the Americans' opinion. How did you feel about this being set in Ireland?
I didn't notice anything particularly weird, so
the only reason I ask is because I forgot it's in Ireland, so it feels like really domestic. And most of the middle grades I've read are either in America or like some magical land. So the fact that it was not close to home, because obviously England and Ireland are not the same place, but just the fact that it felt really domestic, I really liked. But I wasn't sure if, as an American, it would feel the same because, of course, it's across the Atlantic. So, don't know. No comment at all there, Ali?
I guess I didn't really think about it. I just, like...
That's fair enough.
I read it, and they were in a place. And I was like, yep, that's a place.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. What about you guys?
I didn't even click until they were like, oh, we need to go to wherever in Dublin. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, oh, you're going to get on a plane. And then they were just like, oh, we're just going to drive there. And I was like, oh, we're in Ireland. Cool. Good to know.
And that's not until like chapter 8 either. That's like really like into the
like, oh, we're in England. Everything's in England. And I was like, Dublin? Because I think as well, because like that Mr. Bliss is in London at one point. So in my head, I was like, they mentioned London. I'm like, oh, we're in London. Like, cool, we're in England. He's in London. Like, and then they were talking about like flying, and I was like, wait, what's going? And I was like, oh, it was like they're in Dublin already. He isn't. And I was like, got it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the thing, is I think because Tanith Low is in London, so it was only when like it cuts back to Dublin and they talk about going to the Dublin Museum that I was like, oh yeah, Ireland. Just as an FYI, we are going to talk about spoilers later. Carolyn's only on chapter 4, but she told me earlier that she doesn't mind spoilers, so she will probably hang about. Okay. So Carolyn has said, okay, good. I didn't realise it was in Ireland. I knew it was UK-esque because of the solicitor when reading the will. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of British isms in there. And I think even like the banter and dialogue is quite, like the dynamic of that is quite British. So I think that works really well. Carolyn, I'm not atting you. Like I know you've not been having a great time. I just meant when we start talking about this, like spoilers, like we don't have to like be weird about it because you don't mind. It was that. It wasn't like.
I mean, frankly, when you put the spoiler banner up, it's on them. They're here. They get spoiled.
Absolutely. So, anything else you want to add before we move on to the spoiler banner, or do you just want to go straight into spoilers now?
Go for it.
Go for it.
Let's do. There it is. We are now in spoiler territory. Okay.
They all die.
Everyone.
Nobody makes it out alive.
And then we'll have another 14 books of just ghosts.
But ghosts.
Oh, see, you're completely you've read the wrong book, Emma. We've all read Skulduggery Pleasant. You've read Game of Thrones.
If I read Game of Thrones in a week, I would be impressed.
Yeah. All 14 books.
I'm actually a genius. Did you know that? I'm so quick at reading. Carol's like, what? How is there like 12 books?
They've been out for a while. They started in 2007, so but yeah.
Middle grade series tend to just like keep going and going.
Yeah.
And then going.
I love it. I love
I'm
it.
not mad about it. Okay. So, should we do this character by character then? Because then we can talk about as much as little as we like. So, Gordon Edgley.
I mean,
opening chapter dies, but basically is in the entire book.
Yeah. Honestly, I kind of love him. He's basically me. He's like super involved, does fuck all. Like he's there, but he does nothing.
I mean, he did set up all the traps and stuff. Like he made it difficult for people.
Did he though? Did he? Like really? Because like the tunnel shit was already made by some sorcerer hundreds of years ago. All he did was go, you know what? No one's gonna think of them to have this thing, so I'm gonna give it to them. Boof, flash, done.
Yeah. So the them is the brooch. That's what you're talking about, yeah?
Huh? Yeah. Sorry, I was reading Carolyn's comment because I saw my name.
Yes, Carolyn said thank you because obviously I sent the books that were for her to you first.
Oh yeah, I was like, what? Yeah, I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna do some self promo.
You gave her freebies. Like,
Well, do you know how many?
everyone won except me because I look like an idiot, but everyone else
I
got
have so many Doctor Who art prints. I'm at the point where I'm literally just like people order, like I shouldn't say this, but people order one print. I'm like, you've got the whole set, and they're like, I didn't order that. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I don't want them. So
I don't want these anymore.
there's like 100 of. Like, I've got about 500 prints just sitting in a drawer. I'm like,
why don't you promote some more on Twitter then, and just like get people to like buy them?
Got any of 10?
Easy.
Or just give them to Ali.
What have I got just now? I have 13. I have John Sim, Missy, and Yana's like masters all together. Queen Victoria, a Weeping Angel, and 11 in the pond. So I did do 10, but I didn't get prints because.
Excuse me.
My Etsy store is in my descriptions. Like,
I also have this many dollars, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say like shipping's probably more than freaking. Oh
The
wait,
shipping's not bad on that kind of stuff. I just don't have dollars.
They're thin. I'll just send them to Hannah, and then you get them in your next waypoint.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. So yeah, the rest of the Edgeleys. Let's discuss the aunt, uncle, and cousins.
The cousins, I feel, were just there to be like, Gordon likes children, just not these ones. That's why Stephanie got it. Oh,
I'm just like,
children.
oh, it's the family nobody likes. That happens in every middle grade.
Yeah.
Like,
They are just brilliant, like sometimes comedic, like characters.
yeah, because they're just caricatures. They're like not even characters. They're caricatures.
Yeah.
There.
They are the Dursleys, but of the Derek Landy world.
Yeah.
I love this bitch barrel. That really tickled me. If we have a catchphrase from this month's Readalong Live, it's going to be this bitch barrel. I didn't like the fact that Beryl basically is just a narc. Like, she immediately like texts Stephanie's parents and was like, I saw you in a car with a weirdo. I mean, admittedly, if I saw my niece in a car with a random stranger, I'd probably be quite worried. But I don't think Beryl did it out of concern. I think she did it because she's a nosy cow.
Yeah, I think she wanted to get Stephanie into shit. Leave my bounties. Sorry, Rat's going to eat my bounties.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's already had half my Easter egg.
I love that. Her at the reading of the will, I was like, girl, no. She literally goes, when do we get to the stuff? When do we get to get stuff? And then when she gets the brooch and she's just like, is that it? I love that. I loved that. I thought that was really fun. And I like the fact that the husband as well was literally like wandering around Gordon's house going, oh, this is nice. I will take that for myself. Thank you very much. Spoons, silver spoons, have those. Really tickled me.
I mean, we all know something like that, don't we?
We do. We absolutely do.
And if you don't, it's you.
Agreed. Okay, so Valkyrie Kane / Stephanie.
Love her.
I can't remember which one it was. One of you said you didn't like her, and I can't remember who it was.
Wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
Okay, in which case it was someone else, but I definitely thought it was going to be one of you guys because I made a note that someone said they find her really irritating.
I mean, I don't love her, and I do think she has a little bit of like, not pretentiousness, but like I think she kind of feels a little bit entitled, but like I wouldn't say she was irritating. Like, I think she's the perfect sort of sidekick for Skulduggery because, like, they've got that banter that sort of works.
Yeah.
I think
I'm always going to remember that she's a child.
Yeah, that's
11.
Yeah, she's like 12 years old.
That I think is the thing is.
Go for it, Ali.
That I think is the thing about her character is like I really like her, and then she does something annoying, and I'm like, she's a child.
Mm.
A stupid question, but does she age with the books?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'm
So
assuming
by the time, like book 8 comes around, she's about 18, so you do age up with her.
Cool. Because I feel
Are they
like
still middle grades?
Yeah, they're all still middle grade, according to Goodreads anyway. They get a bit gory.
I suppose
I was going to say, it will be like the Harry Potter series where they're technically not, but it's just a case of like the target audience was a middle grade when they started it kind of thing.
I feel like with her being like 18. I just think that it'll fit better because the dynamic will be better. Because there is that really cynical part of me that's like, I know he's a skeleton, but it's inappropriate. like I just get that vibe where I'm like, you're a child though. And
why is it inappropriate? What's inappropriate about their dynamic?
I don't know. It's just something about it that I just feel like sort of just latched on. And then the way people talk about Skulduggery is I'm like, I feel like he's forgetting she's a child. And it just kind of felt like I'm not talking sexual stuff going on here, but just that sort of like, what's the word? Like, not breach of power, but like that thing like with teachers, like you've got to be careful, like having like
like the power dynamic. Yeah. He's got a duty of care. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you can't really be friends with a teacher. But I wasn't
no. Although, having said that, because I do on Twitter, I put like a little mood board of a book once I finished it, and when I looked up Skulduggery Pleasant aesthetic, there is way too much fan art of Valkyrie and Kiss. No, didn't like that. Didn't like that. Didn't like that.
I was going to say people ship them, and it's wrong.
It's not. He is a father figure. That's the whole point. She has lost one. She gains another. It's a father figure. That's why he's teaching her things. There's nothing. No.
I just don't care if you meet someone when you are that age. They are not a dating prospect. I don't care. Mm-hmm. Once you're an adult, they're still not. It's still weird.
If she was 18 in book 1, I see it. 18 in book 8, no.
Mm-mm.
No.
No. Mm-mm. I don't think even if she'd been 18, I don't think I'd have been like.
No, but I would have been more. I would be forgiving of it if people shipping it.
But like, if he'd been like best mates with your uncle, who was like old enough to be your granddad, and he was old enough to be your great granddad, I still wouldn't ship it. Still doesn't do it for me. It doesn't like just. But I really liked. Let's go back onto points that I'm happy to discuss. I really like the way she comes up with her name, which is essentially warrior princess and pain in the ass.
I completely understood where Kane came from, but I still don't get Valkyrie.
Because her dad played Rise of the Valkyries.
Because what?
Her dad played Rise of the Valkyries to wake her up.
Yeah.
See, I knew there was something in the book, and I couldn't freaking remember where it was. And like, I knew that what's her face called her a warrior, like, but I couldn't. I was like, where?
She sees the thing in the book, and it kind of like that's what like sets it off. But her dad plays the song first thing in the morning, and it's a really light reference because I don't think they actually say "Rise of the Valkyries." I think they I think it says something like they play like a dramatic tune by the person who wrote "Rise of the Valkyries." I don't think it's explicit, but it's just it's one of those setups where I was like, "Oh, that was clever."
I mean, I think it's a reach, right? Because, I mean, maybe I'm just really fucking stupid. But one, I wouldn't know the name of that song. And then if somebody comes up to me and says, oh, yeah, you know, you're a warrior, my brain's going to go, oh, I know what my name is. Someone called me a warrior in this sort of book. Like, nah, that's too much. I don't believe any child. No, I'm kidding. I'm pretty sure we all know Stephanie is way more intelligent than me.
I think it's one of those things where, like, I really enjoyed it because reading it for a second time, I was like, there it is. Like, I would never have noticed that the first time round.
Yeah.
And, like, on a second read. And I think a book that can have enough in it that you don't notice stuff the first time, but you do notice it the second time, that is a much better book than a book that had been like, oh, her favorite thing in history was Norse mythology and the Valkyries. Oh, she chose Valkyrie. Like, I just feel like that would have been like too on the nose. So I just thought it was really clever that it was really, really subtle. And I also like the fact that obviously when you find out about China Sorrows and Mr. Bliss, their names have nothing to do with one another in the same way that they have nothing to do with one another. I thought that was quite cool.
Such a cool plot twist when it came out. It was just like, whoa, where did that come from?
China.
Well, there were two plot twists for both of them. They both got like a little plot twist.
Everybody gets plot twists in this series.
True. So, okay, Skulduggery Pleasant. What do we think of him in general?
I mean,
I want him to be the 14th Doctor, honestly.
Yeah, see, I'm good. The Doctor Who vibes get me through.
Which
I'm just like,
do you associate him with the most? Like,
a
10.
mixture of 10 and 11. I think he's like 10 because of like the suit sort of thing, and like the sort of wittiness, but just a bit of 11. And like I just like he's a bit more comedic. Like when he like jumps through the car window, I just feel like that's the sort of random stupid stuff that 11 would do. I feel like 11 would be like, you know what, who needs a door? Let's go through the window.
Yeah. It has the whimsy of 11. I very much see 11.
I want to say a little bit of 12 though, just because he's got a little bit of that, almost like a little bit of a grouchy old guy in him.
Yeah, he's a bit like, oh. And you could be like, oh well, 9 was also a bit bitter, and then well, 13's a bit dull, not dull. 13's my favorite, so you know, but like, you know, she's like 11, but just like even more like klutzy and just like sort of dithery, but like really smart. Oh, all of them. 14.
He is just all of them.
Yeah, he is. He is the Doctor Who we deserve. Next.
He's the perfect amalgamation of all of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
All of the Doctors. Yeah, agreed. And I think actually you're right in saying that their dynamic is good, because she does feel like so many of his companions as well. In just like the whimsy and like the questioning. She's always asking him questions, and he's not even like mad about it. He's just like, you've just got a lot of questions. I don't want to answer this right now. It's too complicated.
She's a bit like Rose. Like she's got questions, but she's like, I'm just gonna go with it. Like, yeah, okay. Like, all right.
Yeah.
But then you pull in the whole 10 Rose like romance thing, and then you're just like, nope, move away.
I don't remember her name. The one, Martha. She definitely gives me like Martha vibes, because she's just like fighting him on stuff. She's just like, no.
Yeah.
Especially when Martha comes back later, when she's like in unit, and she's like, I'm in charge. No.
But the banter is all 10 and Donna, though.
Oh god, yeah.
I was gonna say, I was like, I don't see Martha, but I definitely see Donna. Even just like, just the way it was like, you what, sunshine? Like, I just can so see her like pulling a moment like that. Because I think like
a night.
Yeah, I mean, it like Caroline's pointed out that he's being quite squirrely in the first 4 chapters, and I think Emma's right in the fact that like he does have like a duty of care, so he does very much see her as a child, but they don't see her as like a helpless child. Because at one point, I love that everyone in unison, when someone calls her a child, is like, don't call her a child.
Yeah.
Like she is and she isn't. She's actually far more knowledgeable than like some of the adults around her.
At that moment, her like what she has to say is important. So it's like, don't just write her off because she's a kid.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. What about Ghastly Bespoke?
I love him. He's precious.
Love him. I love that dynamic as well of him being like looking so scary, but then he's doing like that traditional feminine role as being a tailor. I love that sort of justification.
I'm sure it's when they meet him and they talk about like scars on the faces and stuff. And it was the way that was worded. I was a bit like there was like claiming that he was like disgusting or something. There was a scene where they described someone as having scars, and they're like, "Oh, it's disgusting." And I was like, but like again, that's sign of the times.
Yeah, I think it is, and I think it's another one of those things where like the fact that he has chosen the name Ghastly. If something's ghastly, like it's unseemly, you don't want to look at it. It's a little bit spooky. Like it's an accurate name for what he's selected for himself.
Yeah.
Hannah, did we already cover the body shaming in the book? Yeah, apparently I was the only one bothered by it. No one else noticed. So just me. But yeah, I think it was another one of those things. But what I like with that is, you're right, unlike with the other characters where they look unattractive, and they are unattractive, although he gets looks and stuff from people, he has such a nice soul. Like when he just at the end, I'm trying really hard not to spoil it for Caroline, because that bit
spoiler.
Yeah, I know it is, but I'm still like, that's a big spoiler, you know. So
I just want to say there is actually a Doctor Who reference when they first meet Ghastly. It's when she says that she half expects the mannequins to come alive like living plastic. It's 9's first episode.
I thought that one. I was like, oh, that's like all that I think I picked up on.
Yeah,
because this was written 2 years after that series aired, so it must have been really fresh in his head.
Yeah,
I just thought that was a
absolutely.
really cool reference.
I know you said you don't care, Carolyn, but I still feel bad. Basically, he gets turned into stone because
No,
he's an
he
elemental.
turns
So
himself into stone.
Yeah. yeah, that's what I mean. So it's a case of like, to stop. Beautiful moment. It's a beautiful moment. But yeah, so I really liked him.
Like book 10 and he comes back. Like if there's nothing about him and it's like book 10, it's like boom, Ghastly's here. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
I'm
it'd be
saying
great.
nothing.
Something's gonna happen, whether he completely dies, whether he comes. Something's happening. Like I know they're not gonna leave it there, but and at least I know what happens within the next 7 books. So
Yeah, Becca, you need to work on your poker face.
Yeah, I'm trying so hard. I'm so bad at this.
I'm gonna forget, and I'm gonna be like, "Oh my god, I have no idea. I forgot this character."
And we'll be like, "Oh, yeah, that time we discussed
really
it."
Excited about.
I am keeping some big things back though, so you're fine.
This is why I want more people on the live that hasn't read it before, so we can discuss it as we go. But yeah,
I do have some questions for you when we get to later live shows, like, "Oh, did you notice this?" kind of thing. So,
love that.
Shutting up now.
Tanith Lowe, my favorite character of all time. Thoughts?
Yes,
she's my second favorite character.
See, I don't feel like I got to see enough of her to like know much.
But I think that's what I liked about her is she's quite she's the classic warrior and she's quite like taciturn just in her like demeanor.
I feel like obviously we had that bit at the end and like in like the jail, but she's just like not there and she's like, "Oh, you're alive." I mean, I did like that bit. She's like, "I've still like a hole in my stomach." And I was like, "I like you. That's how I say that's how I'd be. That's how I'd like to be. Like if I had like a big hole in my stomach and we were all like, oh, we survived. I'd like to be the one that's standing there like celebration, great, dying."
Well, I did feel like that was a bit of a cop out, the fact that she just like walks out and it's like after that massive fight scene and like a massive battle and like a battle of the wills and like having to like outsmart, and I was like, that was great, and then it felt again like a massive self-sacrifice, and then she just walks out the building and you're like, oh, I guess it wasn't that big a deal. I need
to like not look at Becca when I say this because I feel like the poker face might provide some insight. But you know when she like apologizes to the Cleaver because she's like, "Oh, you know, I sent you there," and then the Cleaver then like turns his back on Serpian at the end. I'm like, is that because of Tanith like being like, "Oh, I'm sorry," like doesn't have the emotion, or like, oh, the Cleaver's like, I mean, this is before this was written in Doctor Who, but the Cleaver, I just realized the Cleaver reminds me of like the Slab in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
But obviously
it would have been written the same year as that.
It would have actually.
Yeah.
Look at me finding references. I'm curious because like I feel like this Cleaver's like going about, and it's like whose side is it on? Like, does it just not give a shit anymore? So I'm like,
I honestly can't remember. So poker face is fine.
I was just
I read this last year. Can't remember.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Anything else to add on Tanith Lowe?
No.
She's the reason why I love women with swords now.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah,
Carolyn's happy for me, and I'm quite. I'm so please, Carol. Yeah, I'm so cool.
So the Cleavers are kind of, they're like soldiers used by the elders, kind of thing. Becca could probably explain them a bit better than I could.
It sounds like a TV show, like it's like, oh, the Clangers. Like it sounds like an 80s TV show. Oh, that's the Cleavers.
I don't know. Cleaver is a type of knife, so it sounds a bit more aggressive than a clanger to me.
Forgot that part. Meat cleaver, meat slab. Oh, look, that's a connection I'm making. Whether it's canon or not, it's a Doctor reference.
Do you want to give some backstory on them, Becca, without spoilers?
They're sort of like the gods of the magical world, and like the government kind of send them out to sort of deal with people and sort of guard things and stuff like that, essentially. And they're deadly.
Like, yeah. They're like the equivalent of SWAT, basically. That's how I imagine them. Like they're little military, like police kind of thing. Yeah. So they're quite. Can we like speaking of like creepy things? Because I was about to say I found them quite creepy. That first attacker that attacked Stephanie in her home genuinely scared the shit out of me. Like, I found him way creepier than Nefarian in general.
Who was he again?
He was just one of like Nefarian's men. Like, he was just fighting. Like, but I just found him like speaking at her like through the window and like through the door was so creepy.
He's like, I don't care you're a kid. It's like, I'm gonna kill you. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, straight up, like, are you here on your own? I was like, didn't like that. Didn't like that.
Did anyone else shit themselves when that one hollow man got like punctured and deflated? Because I felt like an idiot when I was like, oh, hollow man, balloon, they're hollow. I was like, what? I was like, whoa. It's like,
I was really creeped out when they like came into the office. When that one came into the office and she was like trying to hide that. Yeah, that whole thing creeped me out. But yeah, I was exactly the same character. I was like, is this scarier than I remember it being? Like, that was really like. And then when they chase them, and then there's the car accident. Oh, it got me. It got me.
I can't. I don't like. Nothing creeps me out or scares me. So I'm just over here like, meh.
I find middle grades creepier than adult horror books and things like that. Like, I don't find adult horrors very scary at all. But for some reason, middle grades get me.
It depends on. It's got to be almost like a different style of writing for me. Like, this is too adventure writing, so I just like don't. It has to be that like the whole thing is written creepy for me to get creeped out.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. No, I found him terrifying, and yeah. Him shouting like, "What's your name?" at her, didn't like that.
No.
I mean, when you watch Saw when you're like 8, you kind of.
No, it's called being heartless.
That too. You're not wrong.
You've got 2 hearts. Oh my god, you've got 2 hearts in your body right now.
You're also not wrong, but I don't like thinking about it. So
that's weird. That's weird. Because you've got 2 hearts and 4 lungs at the moment. That's weird.
I'm good. My husband likes to mention.
I was about to say something I really shouldn't say, so moving on.
Yeah, I already know. If it's what I think it is, the husband over there says it all the time.
What? About the fact that it may be a male child?
It is a male child.
Yeah. So.
And yes, that joke has been made almost every day.
Considering you have said child, this isn't appropriate for a middle grade.
I was going to say, yeah, good thing I didn't put anything about the title of this being a middle grade. Because apparently this is not a PG rated lie.
Ali did stuff to make a baby. Like, wow.
Outrageous.
As long as it wasn't necessary.
Sorry, I just love that. Oh boy.
You're right, Carolyn.
You're right. You're right. Okay, let's talk then about villains, seeing as we discussed the attacker very, very briefly. Nefarian thoughts.
I actually was more interested in like all of his minions and everyone else than him, to be honest. Like,
it just feels like that sort of henchman that just stands there and he's like, do shit. Well, he didn't do anything, really.
Yeah. He wasn't nearly as scary as I remember reading it as a kid, but I feel like because there was he was quite overpowered, and I think having watched so many superhero films and stuff like that since, it was just like, oh, well, I've seen him be defeated before. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just didn't, I don't know. Him as a character just didn't hit the same way, like, his hollow men, even the vampires, I thought were genuinely freaky, but like him, I was just like, oh. He's got a skinless hand. That's a bit weird.
He's just kind of a dick, okay?
I do wonder if the hand is a reference to that song, though. Red Right Hand?
Yeah.
Probably. Knowing Derek Landy, it probably is.
Yeah. I just pointed that out because I was like, well, yeah. Nefarious, it's...
Yeah, that would... Yeah.
But, yeah.
I don't know. I also feel like that was one of the things that, like, it's the only thing that I didn't love is I wasn't expecting the book to end. Like, I thought this adventure was going to go on a little bit longer, so it felt kind of abrupt that it was just like, yep, that's completed. And I was like, that was it? I was like, this guy's got to be coming back or something, because that was just...
Covering the face.
Yeah. It is one of those things where, like, it does feel really, really abrupt. But what I did appreciate about that, like, playing devil's advocate, as a mystery, it did feel, like, resolved.
Yeah.
as a mystery. Like, even though there's going to be stuff, and I like the fact they hint about what's going to happen in the next book, in the implications of like him having evil, nefarious plans with other people and other minions of his master and stuff like that. I liked that, and I liked the fact that it did feel like it had ended. Like that mystery was solved. Let's move on to the next one, kind of thing. And it will be interesting to see when we read the second one if it feels like there has been like a level up in the drama and intrigue and what's the word I'm looking for, where it's a problem, that thing.
Yeah,
conflict.
I feel like it's so, I don't know. I definitely feel like it's gonna be like where he really wasn't as much of a bad guy as everyone thinks. He was just kind of like, and that's why he just went. And now there's worse bad guys. But then I feel like he's probably going to come back and then be more powerful than he was at first. I'm just like, he's got to come back. They're not just going to be like.
What got me right? Tome is one of the elders.
Yeah.
So he's meant to be like all powerful, really smart dude, like in charge of this shit. But didn't think like, oh, he'll just kill me to get what he wants. Like, I clicked that. I was like, oh, you've weakened it by killing these two. Why would he not just kill you if he can't get to it? I was like, you.
He's caught up in his own selfishness.
Yeah.
But you find that people like that are very short-sighted in like the grand scheme of things, because they're looking for an immediate gratification. And I quite like the fact that we can all see exactly where this is going, and then you can see it like on his face as that's happening, and then he just like,
I was literally rooting for it. I was like, come on, Serpine, gank him.
Yeah, it gets to the point where you're as an audience anticipating him coming to the same conclusion we will come to, which I like. I like that.
When like the book's like there and like Valkyrie gets a look at it and it like changes to like show her page. I'm like, so does that mean you can only see your own page? So like, are they all fighting for this book and there's like nothing, it's not going to help them? Because like that would be the smart thing, to have a book that only shows you your own name and no one else's. That's what they should have done.
Yeah, I did like the idea that it relaxes your will. Like, as you go towards it, you're like, I don't really need this. I don't need to prove anything to you. Like,
oh my god, I had like an image in my head when they were going over that. I was like, so if someone's just like really determined to get it, I just imagined them walking up to it, then being like, no, and then like walking away and being like, wait, I want this, and then just going back in the loop. Yeah, just like stuck.
Basically that's exactly what happens. But yeah, no, that's fair. But it was one of those spells where, like, when we talked about the magic system earlier, I like the fact that there are definitive rules to magic. Like, I think they're called like hard and soft magic systems, where like a soft magic system is like Tolkien, magic exists, no one knows how it works, as opposed to like hard magic systems where it's like, oh, here's a specific set of rules and we're telling you the rules because it's going to matter later in the story. Like, I like the fact that when they discuss the like locking spells, that you have to lock a room every time you leave it as well as every time you enter it. And then she's able to go into certain rooms because she's like, that would be so tedious to lock this door every time, kind of thing. Yeah. I thought that was like, it's really like nicely set up and paid off. And I like the fact that their magic, there's like elements of them being like mind control-y and stuff like that, but only if you've chosen that way of doing magic. I just thought it was really cool.
My only thing about hard magic systems is I just feel like there's going to be some point when I'm going to notice that something was mentioned at one point that is later negated, and I'm going to be like,
It has happened. I don't think it happened yet, but did it happen for you in this one?
No, this one was fine, but I feel like later, because for some reason I'll like remember weird little things like that, so it'll just be like something small that they'll like do a magic. I'll be like, no, you said you can't do that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It's like, oh, when it was plot convenient.
I don't remember that sort of stuff, and like I feel like a lot of books that do that, there's like such an importance on how the magic works, and a lot of the time they give you way too much info at once. So then something happens, and everyone like that's smart enough, it's like, oh my god, and I'm like, but I don't get it because I don't know your system. Like, if it's really soft and I'm just like, that's why I like sort of like the fabulism type sort of speculative stuff. I'm just like, this shit happens and nobody understands it, and I can live with that. because I don't need to understand it. If I'm reading a book where I need to understand it, I just spend too much time being caught up. Like, I don't know what I'm meant to remember. And then like, I have to like try and like bookmark where things were. And I just get taken out of the story because I'm too busy trying to like educate myself on something that doesn't matter. You know, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, it's good. And when it works, it works. But if you need me to like, I don't understand how this world works and I need to live it. Like, I'm autistic. I don't understand how people work. I don't need to be trying to work out a different fictional system. Like, no, no, thank you. I'm done.
See, I'm more siding with Carolyn. I like the idea that magic has a cost and consequence. Like, I think then it does feel like it has a place in something. Because, like, from like a writer's perspective, I know that everything that goes into your book should serve a purpose. So either it's something to entertain or inform, or it's kind of filler, and it's the filler that bothers me. And sometimes I feel like magic can avoid becoming filler by just not telling you anything, but really it should be there to either entertain and inform. And I feel like Skulduggery does a really good balance of this is a funny thing and this is a helpful thing. Like, being able to dry yourself, and like the Jesus reference of him like walking on water and stuff like that is to entertain, but it's still informative. He's still able to manipulate certain elements. Sure, it's a real plot convenience that he can fly because he can control air at sometimes, but when Bliss throws him off a cliff, it takes his good sweet time getting back, you know? Like, it's
like, I don't mind when magic systems have the rules. It's just when they start getting to a point where you can just tell that it's going to be like, oh, if you don't know what's going on. And I'm like, you know, it's like, I feel like I'm reading a math textbook at that point. Like, where there's like rules and things. I'm just, no, can't do it. So basically,
Sanderson.
Never. Oh, no,
God, don't ever read Sanderson.
I read like 9 last year, and I think my brain fell out my ears. I genuinely think it just left after a while.
Like, I just can't do it. I'm like, it's like I'm trying to remember formulas for an exam. And I spent the whole book trying to nitpick a little thing. So it's like, if somebody like tells me, oh, this book has like magic rules, but it's not like, I don't know, I feel like it just takes a, like, I don't pick up on it stuff as much. People get like really excited about small things, like, oh, did you notice that? And I'm like, no, because I skipped over all the shit about the specific angle they had to move their finger to make a trick work. Like, nah, I'm over it.
This I definitely think is never going to get to that point.
Yeah, this is chill. This is just like, yeah, cool, we can do this. But
yeah.
Like, I'm like, I get that. That makes
like, there's
sense.
some different rules, but I feel like if you miss them, it's fine. Like, you're not going to...
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see as Valkyrie picks up more magical skills, how that works out. That'll be quite fun.
Yeah. I'm so glad she has magic. I was like, she better get magic. Like, I was so concerned when I was reading it, and it was like, some people can't do magic. I was like, if she can't do magic, I'm gonna be pissed.
Do magic.
What were you saying, Emma?
Like, I would be very surprised if any middle grade, never mind a middle grade from 2007, their chosen one couldn't do magic in a magic world.
I thought, like, I quite liked that, but I did think it was kind of, it was on the verge of going too far the other way. Now, you hinted at it earlier, Emma, when the dad drops the bomb that actually she is a descendant of like, that almighty thing, and I was just like, does she need to be?
No.
To have magic? Does she need to be? Does that need to be the case?
I just wanted her to be able to do magic, but like the god thing, I'm like,
it worked for like the scepter thing. That was fascinating.
It worked for that, but then also like it didn't, because it didn't really help. Well, it didn't help him get it back because he didn't get it back. Like, he got it. So what was the point?
Yeah, but it was just like, I was like, oh, does she need to be? Does she need to be the great granddaughter of some god? I don't know.
When she says, you know, why didn't Gordon like tell her? And I know they kind of looked at the fact that he wanted to like write about the world without being involved in it. But I suppose like she would have read his books. But part of me's like, I still feel like he would have told her the stories. And I don't know why her dad like didn't tell her the stories either. Like, because he didn't seem to care. It was just like his dad didn't like it. So I'm like,
yeah. It would have been like quite cool if like part of the things that she found in the house were like old diaries and things like that, because I know she like sits there and like reads his books, but it'd be cool to like discover a manuscript that like goes into those stories better. But we shall see. We shall see. So, okay, what sort of things do you think will happen in the second book? Because the second book is playing with fire, and it sets up that Vengeance, Dusk, and Sanguine, 3 deadliest killers, are alive and trying to resurrect an unstoppable creature. So we're going to have 3 villains instead of just the one this time.
I feel like they're just going to sort of kind of pick up where we left off and be like, oh, well, you know, things are kind of going to shit. Like, we don't have elders. Like, what's going to, like, people are trying to, like, take over now because, like, they feel they've got the chance. And it's just kind of going to be not more of the same, but more of the same in, like, the sort of fighting and, like, oh, we're going out and, like, we're going to have to try and do stuff. But I don't know. Like, I kind of want there to be a bit of a mystery, like, in there. That's what I'm hoping. Like, I'm hoping there's something.
I imagine there will be. That's the way I remember it, is that there's like a specific mystery in each of them, but then it obviously develops the main plot. But I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if I remember that correctly. So we'll see.
Pretty sure it is. Pretty sure. Don't quote me on that.
What about you, Ali?
I'm just hoping that I like the villains more, because the villains are my babies and I love them. Yep. And I just want them to be better. I want to love them, but Nefarian, I was just like, you suck.
What's the villains' names again?
Vengeance, Dusk, and Sanguine.
See, I'm already more for that. I'm like, they better be badasses, or I'm just going to be like
Nefarious Serpine. It's like, right, so Nefarious, not even Nefarious, Nefarian, and then Serpine. Like, you really went with the snake analogy for this.
Nefarious snake.
Yes, snaky boy.
Like, snaky boy.
I love that all the villains. Like, you can tell they're villains just by their names. Like, every time. It's always just like, yep, villain.
You know in the Tales, when she's on the vine, and then Skulduggery's like, that's not a vine, get off. It's the first minute she was on this vine, I was like, is this a snake? Is this going to be something to do with Serpine and like a snake? And they never really tell you what it is. I'm like, it's totally a fucking snake that he's like enchanted to like fucking take her over. So I was like,
it's like a weird octopus thing, isn't it? That like it's just like the tentacles. It's so creepy.
I was like, Serpine. It's like, because I obviously, like, even though it wasn't like that, I was like, you named the villain Serpine, and there's like a dangly tentacle thing that's like a snake. You made it too obvious shade on a vine. And that was middle grade. So,
one of my favorite parts, though, because I was just like, good. Octopusy squid thing. I was like, yes, Cthulhu.
Right, so we've got that bitch.
That bitch Beryl.
That bitch Beryl. And yes, Cthulhu.
I love Cthulhu.
That's a phrase.
Are you going to incorporate Cthulhu somehow into your chosen name then? Because we still need to choose those. We still need to make our DeaDFamous chosen names.
Still mentioned in the book though, as well. Like when the warehouse is rented under like L Craft, and they're like, you know, he wrote Cthulhu. So there you go. Maybe it was Cthulhu.
Maybe it was.
It was. We're gonna be pals, me and Cthulhu.
What have you got in common with Cthulhu exactly to be pals?
We're just pals, okay? We're just gonna be pals, and it's gonna be good. And we're gonna hang out, and we're gonna drink little teas. And then he'll murder people I don't like, and it'll be good.
Oh, great!
What? Yeah, I'm gonna drink tea with Cthulhu.
We found Ali's new channel name, Tea with Cthulhu.
Tea with Cthulhu.
I don't even like tea, so this is.
I'm
just drinking this because Cthulhu really likes it.
Tea, you're sharing, you're spilling tea. You're gonna spill tea with Cthulhu, and then he's gonna go and like yeet some people that you don't want.
Well, this conversation went.
You just imagine Derek Landy like hopping in, like, oh, people discussing my book, and we're like, tea with Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Like, how did we get to that?
Couldn't tell you. And I'm hosting the thing. Couldn't tell you.
It's all her. For once, it's not me.
This one right here.
All I said was that I want to be pals with Cthulhu.
Yeah, but you also then brought in tea, and then you were like, don't even like tea.
I don't know how to shut up. You knew this when you invited me.
I did. But I also knew that about my other 2 guests, so it's fine.
I think I've done pretty good, I'm not going to lie.
You've been really well behaved. I'm genuinely very proud of you.
I'm so tired. And I'm going to do this until 2 a.m.
I can see like you and Becca, and I've even done it. I'm just like,
Oh, I'm not even hyping it. I'm just like, oh, you got me going.
Oh no!
The upside is I'm not a sociopath because when you started yawning, I started yawning, so it's fine. Oh, but okay.
5 hours until I go to bed.
Yeah. So let's move on to the Q&A bit. Now there weren't any Q's or A's on the Discord, which is fine. And I think it's mainly Carolyn. Like no one else has commented. So there are like 4 people watching, but just Carolyn apparently.
Ask us questions.
So yeah, Carolyn, here is your opportunity to ask us questions about a book you haven't finished yet, but also for my co-hosts, if you have any questions that you would like, things you want to discuss.
When is my copy of book 2 arriving so I can read it?
You haven't paid for it yet, so when you've paid for it,
sent me a link to pay for
You
it.
need to charge that.
the link
Alright, I'll
is
put it
on
the
the Discord.
This one I forgot about. Wait, I'm due a free book soon. Wait, no, I need to buy a book to get a free book. Shut up, Emma.
Yes. So you buy this one, and then I send you something else as well.
From my
Do you know
list.
what on your wish list you want to go for yet?
Just give. Oh my god, extra surprise book.
And you want me to just pick one from your?
Yeah, you're random.
Okay.
Good.
Do you have like a particular genre you want me to narrow it down to?
I mean, it
Good?
doesn't really matter because TV Arcade dictates what I read for the most
I don't know
part.
what you're doing.
So, like, the only book I can remember being on that list. Oh wait, Halsey and Bunny. So like, that's all I know is on it
Okay.
for sure. Because like, I feel like there's stuff that I see and I'm like, Hannah, I want that, and I'm like, don't know if she's going to put that on though. So.
No, any time you tell me, Hannah, I want that, I put it on the list.
Oh, there's a lot then.
There's not many. There's only like 4 because there's that. So there's the Halsey, Bunny, My Dark Vanessa, and Prime Deceptions, as far as I know.
Right. Well, I don't want Prime Deception because I've not read Chilling Effect yet. We can discuss this later.
Ruin Song. Ruin Song.
Do you know what's really annoying? I sold the one copy that Waypoint had of Ruin Song to a friend of mine, and then she messaged me the other day and she was like, yeah, it was okay.
Where's sent it to me?
How dare you?
Because I need it.
Found it.
What? Okay, I have noticed that I just do this a lot and I don't know what it means and I don't know why I do
You're just voguing.
It's
Just
a
voguing
new
in the corner.
I just
Okay,
have
so-
to do something with my hands.
That's fine. That's fine. You go right ahead. Becca, any questions, comments that you want to add that we've not yet covered?
Did anybody else notice any other pop culture references apart from Doctor Who?
Considering
I'm
I'm
American,
and
so...
didn't pick any up, so
Mission Impossible with the whole nearly hitting the floor but not hitting the floor.
yeah.
The car is a reference, I'm sure of it. Because the
It
car
felt like
is
a reference.
Yeah,
it felt like
it's
a reference.
Bentley. It's a black Bentley, and in Good Omens, it's also the main car in that is a black Bentley. So I reckon that's probably a reference as well. Like, it isn't confirmed, but I do think that's probably a reference because the sense of humor is quite similar. So I'm starting to think that's probably a reference.
I felt like the Canary Yellow car as well felt like a pop culture reference, but I
Yeah.
can't for the life of me put my finger on what it is.
Only Fools and Horses? The bright yellow.
Maybe.
Again, don't look at... Too American to... there wouldn't be references I would know.
You recognised the Doctor Who ones, didn't you?
Well, yeah, but that's because I watch too much Doctor Who because British television is better than American television. I don't know.
True.
Definitely.
That's fair enough.
Also,
what about you then, Becca? Oh, no, go on. Annie, what you say?
you didn't talk about China, who I will marry.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. That's because I put China next to Bliss. So when we discuss Mr. Bliss, I just completely
No.
missed
I don't
China.
care about Mr. Bliss. Mr. Bliss can... I only care about China, and I will marry her.
Okay.
She's my favorite.
Top 5 reasons.
She's a bad bitch.
Uh-huh.
And she's kind of mean.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's really all it takes. Okay, cool.
She's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
She's mean. She's
That's
pretty.
okay. That's
she's mean.
3 reasons.
She owns a library.
She does own a library.
There you go. She owns a library.
I like the fact that Ghastly, with his like little bank vault of items, very much felt like the Giles of the group.
Yeah.
And it did make China kind of the Spike of the group, in the fact that she's a mean, pretty person who may betray you, might help you out. You never know. You never know which way she's going to go.
I love that she's just doing her, and she doesn't care. And I'm like, yes, please.
Well, the thing is, she kind of does care, because like when she like stops.
Yeah, but she's not going to tell you she cares.
No. Mm-mm. As far as you're concerned, they're for her reasons, as opposed to like the greater good. But I feel like when it was one of those things where she was really trying to stop war happening, but I just didn't like her actions. Like, her motives were there, but her actions were wrong. Weirdly, could say exactly the same about her brother. Motives were there, actions were wrong.
Nobody knows what they're doing, okay? Everyone's just doing the wrong shit all the time, and that's the book.
Yeah, they're not even doing their best. They're just doing the wrong shit.
Yep.
And they somehow muddle through anyway.
Indeed.
It's a series of errors that somehow turn out right.
Yeah, that's what they should have called it, except a series of unfortunate events was already taken by that point, I think.
A comedy of errors.
Anything else you want to add about China then, Ali?
What?
Anything else you want to add about China?
No, I just love her.
Okay, cool.
I relate to her being like, I care, but nobody needs to know.
Oh, I see. Okay. I want her flat. I want rooms upon rooms of books.
Same.
What were you going to say, Emma?
Something.
I thought you went to say something at the same time I went to say something to Ali. So I was just calling it back to you. That's fine. If you didn't say anything, that's fine.
Can't remember. Truly don't know.
Any other questions? Anything you want to add?
I don't think so. I just need to read the next one.
We were talking about China there. Who would you all like to play her if there was an adaptation? So we did have this discussion, but
yeah, I never know. I don't know enough. Like, I can't ever think of any actresses or actors. I don't know.
I said Natalie Dormer, because I think she's got the resting bitch face. She can do the stunts where she's a badass, and she's beautiful. She's so, when she plays Moriarty in Elementary, I just see that as China now.
I also thought Charlize Theron after a bit of thinking as well, because she's got that similar sort of badassery, beautiful woman type thing.
Yeah,
and
but I could also see Charlize Theron play Tanith Lowe.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
because she would be a badass with a sword. Let's be honest.
Yes, if you've seen The Old Guard, she is a badass with a sword. Such a good movie.
She's cousins with one of my bosses, ex-bosses. Just casual trivia for you there.
That was a
6 degrees of separation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Another one that I've got is a friend of mine from uni slept with Orlando Bloom.
What?
Yeah, genuinely.
That
So he used to live in Canterbury, which is about 45 minutes from where I live. So she was on a night out, and they bumped into each other, slept together. Then he went off and did Lord of the Rings.
I mean, I went to a wedding and sat next to Freddie Mercury's auntie for dinner, but that's you do.
I got nothing. My dad knows the guy who owns a bunch of home improvement stores in the Midwest. That's my claim to fame.
I live on the same street that Tom Baker used to live on.
Nice.
I like that one. My mum's friend could have been married to David Tennant, because my mum used to work for David Tennant's either dad or stepdad. It was one of them. And her friend at that job, like, they were doing a silent auction together. And he kept saying to her, like, oh, you know, my son, he's like trying to break into acting, blah, blah, like, you should come round for dinner and meet him. And she was like, I'm not getting in with an actor. Freaking David Tennant. And I was like, I could have known David Tennant. So I'm still mad at her about it.
I would be as well.
Yeah, demon.
That man was my childhood crush. Why not?
That man is my adult crush as well. That doesn't get away.
Have you seen him in stage yet?
Yes.
It's so good.
Hamlet on DVD, and I just can't bring myself to watch it. I'm like, I'm not emotionally prepared for this, or physically, or spiritually.
It's so good. him and Michael Sheen are the funniest people. Like, they're so good.
Their
fell in
dynamic
love.
is fantastic.
I fell in love with a man in Iceland the other day because he yeeted himself over the checkout to get me a packet of bounties. I can't watch David Tennant do Shakespeare. It's honest, like, I don't even like Shakespeare, and I just know I can't do it.
To be fair, his Hamlet was rather good. I broke my brain watching that.
Rather.
David Tennant scares me because he can go from adorable doctor to terrifying stalker.
Yeah.
And he plays them both so well that I'm like,
did you see Days last year? Where he
No,
played Dennis
I
Newton?
have that on DVD again. Right, this is the thing. Where were we? I don't know where we were talking about this. I think it might have been backstage yesterday. Chaos Cthulhu.
waiting for someone to notice that.
Chaos Cthulhu. Hannah and I think we were talking about like how people find serial killers attractive or whatever. That could be what turns me into like turns me into a serial killer. Wow, what turns me from like casually interested in true crime because of this psychology to like fancy a serial killer now. So I mean,
I genuinely thought you were gonna say that'll be what turns me from a serial killer to a sex maniac, and I was like, where is this going? Where is this going?
Where your brain went to?
Genuinely, that's where I thought you were going with that sentence.
Also, why was serial killer separate from sex maniac? Most serial killers do.
They can be both. You're right. I'm not here to kink shame. I just confused.
Carolyn's like, I need that book, and I don't know if that's me becoming a sex maniac.
Maybe it's your biography.
Read. What was the last one of this that I read? Not the last one, but the one before. Whatever one it was with them. With photos, so we all know who the sex maniac is, and the smut with the shower.
Yeah, it's just like, yep, you guys are reading my personal life. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It doesn't like I wouldn't have put it in there if it bothered me, especially because like most of it is staged, so like that's the whole joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's fair enough. So I don't know when the next live is going to be. It will be at the beginning of April sometime. But because I'm so like very important, I've been invited to join the Lamentable Library, and they have the live either the first or second week of April for the Familiars, which I've very nearly finished. So our live will coincide with like the first 2 weeks, but I don't know.
As long as I have, as long as I'm not in labor, I will be there.
Can't wait.
And even if you are in labor,
or maybe I will just join while sitting in the hospital. Like, hey, guys, I'm in labor.
Yeah, if you are in labor, we're gonna live stream about it.
Yeah, I mean,
that's gonna happen.
Labor, right? If you're just sitting there, like, oh, I'm still only like 4 centimeters.
Yeah, if I'm just bored, I can't have anyone with me, so I'm just gonna be sitting there like, well.
Wait, are you? Oh, yeah, no, you're not allowed anyone there unless you're in active labor, right?
Well, I have a child, and the child is not allowed, so my husband has to stay home with the child. So, nope, just me, by myself, the whole time.
You're not allowed to, like, put Archie to, like, grandparents for that. Do we not do the grandparents in this household? Cool.
That's for another time. Anyway, it's been really fun talking about everything alongside Skulduggery, as well as just Skulduggery.
Yeah, this live should have ended like 10 minutes ago.
Oh, easily 10 minutes ago. But we are going to call it there. So thank you everyone for watching, and I guess we will see you next month. See you later.